Hi everyone. In the last presentation, I said that there'd be some incredible revelations in part 2 of Sentinels of the Future, so I hope I don't let you down. Perhaps you have some idea of what this presentation is going to relate to, as the forward video of Sentinels of the Future was Aliens Will Meet Us. If you do, you're right to presume that this quantum reversal is going to relate to aliens as well. If you're here because of the religious aspects of this event, then you may have trouble with this part. If you do, what you may need to understand is that God is not just the God of Earth, but the God of everything, including all planets and galaxies that connect all space and time. Most scientists agree that there are thousands, if not millions of planets that are capable of supporting life. There's a growing movement that believe there are alien civilizations that are far more advanced and even more spiritual than humans. Most of these civilizations are bound to believe in and have the same God as we do.
If you support the idea that God works his miracles through people and believe in aliens as well, then you should be open to the possibility that God can create miracles between humanity and alien races, some of which have had a desire to help us through hard times in our history and are far more advanced than us. There is also a vast amount of evidence that supports the concept that aliens have been visiting our planet for thousands of years. However, there is little evidence to support what their true purpose is and what they actually did for humanity while they were here. Much of what happened in the past has been hidden from us, and there are many things, even now, that we are not told the truth about. Yet, with the internet, some of this information is available, and you just have to know where to look for it. In doing this, we need to be able to figure out what is and isn't real.
So in the first part of this presentation, I'm going to review a few things that we hope to find the truth about with the help of God and his angels. They are as follows. Number 1. Were there ancient civilizations with advanced technologies visiting Earth in the past? Number 2. Did giants really exist on Earth? Number 3. Are the elongated alien skulls they have found in many parts of the world proof of alien visitations? Number 4. Are the videos and pictures of alien spaceships real or faked? And number 5. Are out-of-place artifacts reliable enough evidence to prove that advanced beings walked this earth thousands of years ago? I'm not going to get into these subjects in great detail, as there is a ton of information in videos and pictures on the internet. I just think that these are important parts of humanity's past that may or not have been hidden from us. Perhaps it is still going on, and it's up to us individually to make that determination. So, in part 1, alien civilizations. There is no doubt that we have abundant evidence of modern technology in our past. The question is, why is it hidden from us for the most part and not accepted by mainstream media? Were some of these ancient civilizations alien-related, or were they humanity evolving in technology that far exceeds what we have been taught in history books? If they were alien-related, then why were they here, and what effect did they have on our history?
For example, in Baalbek, Lebanon, a more modern civilization built on top of these 800-ton stones, which were lifted 20 feet off the ground when they were put there over 1,000 years ago. To this day, they don't know how they did it, and the rocks are so precise you can't even insert a needle between them. These H blocks in Pumapuku, South America, are supposedly over 2,000 years old, but scientists do not know how they were created with the tools that they had back then. Even engineers say they don't have the technology to create the preciseness and smoothness of these rocks nowadays, not to mention how they transported these from where they came from, which was almost 20 miles away. This is Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Anatolia, Turkey, which is approximately 12,000 years old, featuring remarkable animal art. It's the oldest of temples found so far. This was built 7,000 years before Stonehenge, and way before hunter-gatherers reached the age of settlement. Archaeologists never thought that hunter-gatherers would come together to make monumental structures like this. There was even strong evidence of a religious belief system that resembles some of the religions of today. There even seems to be evidence of humans walking on Earth before plants or animals came. One example is shoe prints embedded in shale with trilobites, which could make those shoe prints over 200,000 years old. Another is a shoe print in petrified rock in the Nevada desert, estimated to be over 200 million years old. Number 2. Did giants really exist in the past on Earth? There seems to be a lot of pictures on the internet today that are showing scientists digging up huge skeletons. We have to be wary of some of these because they can be photoshopped and faked fairly easily. For example, this image was submitted to a Photoshop contest and won 3rd place. These two are hard to determine whether they are real or faked as well. However, there are also many news reports from the 1800s and 1900s that show images of skeletons, and their discoveries are even reported in the newspapers at that time. Here are a few of them. Apparently, the problem comes in verifying these reports, as all of the giant bones have gone missing. Were they removed and put in some secret location in order to hide the truth from humanity? Or were they false news reports with images that would have to have been faked at the time? It is quite amazing that when researching the subject, you can find pictures and reports of giant skeletons ranging from 10 feet to 36 feet high. Number 3. Elongated skulls. Elongated skulls are being found all over the world, and some researchers swear they are the smoking gun for proof of alien visitations. That is, until they started talking about cultures that bind their heads to cause their skulls to grow in this fashion. Yet some of the skulls do not have the typical cranium bones that humans are supposed to have to allow their skulls to grow. There have been hundreds of these skulls found all over the world, and again, most of them have disappeared and cannot be subjected to any kind of testing. Number 4. Alien spaceships. The most famous one that comes to mind is Roswell. We have been hearing about it for over 50 years now. Most people find it kind of odd that after they told the public it was a real UFO crash, the next day retracted it, saying it was a weather balloon. The person that confirmed it as not being something from this earth was very knowledgeable in the area, but the next day they forced him to say he made a mistake in a major news briefing. They wanted people to believe he was unable to determine the difference between a weather balloon and pieces of an advanced alien aircraft. So the big question is, why are they suppressing this from us? Another one is the Phoenix Lights. Hundreds, if not thousands, saw it, and then it was discredited by having someone dressed up as an alien during a news briefing where they joked about it, trying to make it look like a ridiculous idea. I think there are a number of fake sightings and photoshopped images and videos out there, so we have to be careful again in what we believe. There are the ones, though, that have multiple witnesses and pictures taken at the same time that are quite credible. The problem arises when one person fakes something like that and it is exposed as a fake. It often has the effect of bringing doubt to all other sightings as well. And perhaps there are people out there creating fakes so others will not believe in the real sightings, like in the case of crop circles. Number 5. Out-of-place artifacts. Throughout history, out-of-place artifacts are some of the most convincing examples of advanced technology found in places underground where there would be no way of getting them there. Many are found embedded in coal or in caves that have been discovered in underground mines, and even ones that are in petrified rock. Some have been estimated to have been there hundreds of thousands of years before humans were supposed to be walking on Earth. Perhaps the history we know about humanity is completely wrong, and scientists are mistaken. However, even when these artifacts are discovered, they often disappear and history remains unscathed or unchanged, like they never existed.
For the most part, when suppression occurs, it only needs a few scientists in collusion with each other and an adequate news source to hide the truth. Free energy is another area that is hidden from humanity, and this in itself could be the single most important discovery in recent history that could change the world and prevent much pain and suffering for all of the future. So how much do we know is really the truth when it comes to things that really matter? And why are these things being hid from us? What conspiracy theories are real and which ones are not? Wouldn't it be nice to have the truth all the time and know how to prepare for it when it finally does come? Is humanity ready to accept the truth that has been kept from us for thousands of years? And how will we embrace it when it comes? These are some of the things we will find out through only one source of truth that you can count on, which is God. The question we have to ask ourselves is, how important is the truth, and what are we willing to do to find it? I don't know about you, but I've noticed in the past 5 years or so that it seems the truth does not really matter for some anymore. When I was young, if you were caught in a lie, it was a very bad thing. These days, it seems like it's common practice, an acceptable part of life. So there is a downfall to accepting lies. So what effect does it have on us to believe something that we know is a lie? We may not know it, but in reality, it has a propensity to affect us spiritually as well. It puts us in spiritual confusion. And when we are in spiritual confusion, we are devolving spiritually. And when civilization as a whole is spiritually devolving, and we believe in something that is not true, even if we do not know it is a lie, our soul knows the truth. If our soul knows the truth and our mind believes something else, our soul is fighting with itself, and we are in spiritual confusion. So that is why we hear so much about how God and the angels want us to know the truth. For if we do not, we will not be willing to make the changes that are needed for our spiritual growth and evolution. So that's it for the introduction to the second half of Victor's Sentinels of the Future. Now you can hear the video. I'll try not to comment as much as I usually do in this part, but there are some important elements of it that I need to bring to your attention. And I'm going to read the parts beforehand to familiarize you with what he's saying. We finished off with part 16 in part 1, and we're going to continue on from there. In part 17 in the forward mode he says, I think he can't disappoint God. Life will open up to the precious things. I just know it, and you know he's seeking prophecy. In reverse, he says, the events are shown during the transition. Yes, these events are plentiful to check out with lots of Ryan's lessons. In part 18 in the forward mode he says, during the future he's going to lecture. The curious who thought this does not seem possible, and then in reverse he says, won't have reason to investigate it. Before the election year, and then he'll continue on with part 19 in the forward mode next. So now you can hear part 17 and 18. So in part 18 in the reverse, the last part of it, he said, before the election year, and in part 19, in forward mode, he continues with, it is hard to tell some. Trump will be guilty when questioned better for his part. It is their duty to expel him. In reverse, he says, God loves a miracle and knows who will elect to help him. Even Linda resolved much of her sin here. In part 20 in the forward mode, he says, make the most of it, people, okay? Because some will be back spiritually to grow your vegetables. We called, and then in reverse he says, Ryan to deliver you an offering of carrots. He'll have a mission. And then I say in reverse, the angels will be absolutely right. And then Victor continues in reverse with, in bringing religion here. And then I say, oh yeah yo. So now you can hear the next part. Oh yeah, you are. Yep, Victor who's talking to the people. Oh yeah, yo. In part 21 he says, in the forward mode, don't count on 2% who will be complaining and won't become conceited and play with the tone. In reverse he says, while we wait for the mission, Ryan will begin retrieving the lessons. We'll plant them, and then in part 22 and forward he says, with things he could learn from the ark. Our paradox will keep him in sync to our song. And then in reverse he said, God's truth is definitely our song. Hear it now while you look at this. Part 23 and 24 are quite amazing. In part 23 in the forward mode he says, you will hear our victories, and then the microwave dings. It's pretty amazing how he knew that was going to happen. And then he says, we all feed from God. Some of the people and their budgies don't eat enough. And then in reverse he says, I know he, which I think he means God, wants you to know the song that feeds life is hearing his words now. In part 24 in the forward mode he says, the soul surely returns. So those who believe it, pray and hope there's food for later. In reverse he says, the love in your soul shall help you look for support against ruining your world. So now you can listen to that part. In part 25, in the forward mode, he says, if we're stupid and leave it to many who can't protect our future, we'll experience bad afterbirth and return at some point to intake the air of their errors. In reverse, he says, you're hearing the earth, and then I say, it's crying out, we know, and then Victor finishes that, in heaven. And then Victor says, you're the first humans to learn this way. we will develop a plan for you humans with truth. In part 26 in the forward mode, he says, actually Anthony says, in part 26 in the forward mode, Anthony speaks and then I speak some nonsense, and then Victor says, we're Sentinels of the Future. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If you're to wish, you'll achieve all I now do offer. And then in reverse he says, for all who know about these plans here in reverse, really results from a religion of God. And then I say, is there philosophy in your religion? And Anthony finishes it with, it sure is here with him. Now you can listen to that part.
Why are you bad? You're not bad. Yeah. You're bad, we are.
Victor, it hurts.
My derriere hurts, it sounds like he says.
In part 27 in the forward mode, he says, let's go on a tour when the aliens will meet us and give some help. They're pleased that we're hearing. And in reverse, he says, during this whole event, and come as friends. Simon will be waiting. You won't lose him. In part 28, in the forward mode, he says, now we know your future. Then Ryan and Anthony speak. And in reverse of what we say, I say, the earth isn't really, and then Anthony says, alone. We're not just kidding. And then I say, your kids will hear it. And then Anthony says, it started magically when Ryan released passion. Now you can hear that part.
Picture's done, Victor. See?
Very good, Victor.
My picture's done. I like it.
You like his picture?
Get it. I'll just give it.
If you'll hear it.
Please. Sure. Get it. I'll just give it.
In part 29, in the forward mode, Victor says, thank you. Are you going to catch this kiss from Victor? The future counts on your story and catches everything. In reverse, he says, this emotion you have challenges you to rise as a real prophet who exists in a long line you will see. This prophecy will exist in his efforts. In part 30, in forward, he says, guess what? Ryan just caught history here by adopting a code that some think is a bunch of nuts. If more people abuse him, don't worry. The angels must infuse the peace. In reverse, he says, we'll see some attention soon here. The abuse is from evil to slow this event. He has wisely spent every year to evolve in the process. Now you can listen to that next part.
What's that say, Victor? Yes, that's the...
In the final two parts of Sentinels of the Future, Victor says, in part 31 in the forward mode, if something needs attention, it's the future, while we start to see what's up there and possible. And then Betty, who was Victor's mate at the time, said in reverse, said, in the reverse, and then it switches to reverse, you will hear heaven. Then Victor continues on with, we'll show them the thoughts that we provide them are truly what's in the quality of life. In part 32 in the forward mode, he says, that's when your morality is important. When it's immoral, more people like to keep this unknown. And in reverse, he says, causing evil in our world. Those people, and then I say, who have morality, your good deeds are picked up by God. Now you can hear the final part of this video.
Okay, that's good, Victor. Good luck.
You may have noticed that some of these images came from Disclosure Truth TV, which is a YouTube channel. If you need more information about the artifacts that I talked about here, I recommend that you go there and check it out. Thanks for listening.